How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the One Stop Podcast. It's June 23rd, and we just finished a great game last night between the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Clippers in Game 2. We're gonna start off we're gonna go right off the bat with that and just go right in and dive right into it. So DeAndre Ayton, it was a close game throughout, but DeAndre Ayton made the last bucket on a buzzer-beating tip-in from out of bounds. What are you guys' thoughts on that shot or the last possession in general?
I I didn't know that was like that rule about the offensive goaltending that if you pass it from out of bounds, it doesn't matter. So good on Monty Williams for knowing that. I think they got lucky that there were so many reviews at the end, so they could keep having these like hybrid timeouts, and because they shouldn't have had time to make that play call because they had to review so much. But I mean, props to the Suns. It was a great call. It worked out.
Yeah, and with that much time on the clock, what was it, 0.9? There's not much you can do. So great pass, obviously, and then great play by Ayton. At the end, they weren't even sure if the game was over. They didn't know what had happened. It seemed like the players were unsure. But I think the bigger story is, it was a great play, of course, but we saw it all over the internet last night. Paul George with not just one, but two big missed free throws that honestly could have iced the game, because I don't know if you can get off a quality three-point shot with 0.9. It's enough time, but the odds are at that point they tie the series up. So a lot of eyes and fingers pointed at Paul George today.
I think Paul George, he struggled through the first three quarters as he was terrible shooting wise, percentage wise. He couldn't get anything to go. I think before the fourth quarter even started, he hadn't made 1 3. I think it was 0 for 7 or 0 for 6. But those last 240 something, last 3 minutes, he scored, I want to say, like 10 points, 2 threes, a layup to put him up by 1 before Ayton made the buzzer beater. But going back to the AM buzzer beater, there's something that I don't know. When I first saw it, I thought it was a legit screen by Devin Booker, because that was a second nice screen that he set for Ayton to get down low in the block. But as I looked around again, I saw a video on the internet from a fan's perspective where it showed that point of view from that angle. You could see Devin Booker kind of did like a football crackback type block where he lowered his shoulder into Zubac, and he couldn't get that much lift as Ayton because, well, physics wise. But I think there was it should have, but it's playoff basketball. They're not gonna make that call. But I think it was a moving screen all in all in the end.
Yeah, it probably was, but I feel like they could almost call every screen a moving screen then, if you really scrutinize each one, especially those where it kind of is like a crack block and they kind of just pop out. But I mean, Devin Booker struggled the whole game, but he found ways to impact the game still. He had a bad, what we were saying, he had a bad shooting night, and then it was a lot of the physical play. Like, they started Patrick Beverley this game. He really went at him the whole time. They did it with DeAndre Ayton too. I thought they were going to play Cousins more, but they went with Zubac, and it didn't really work out. Ayton still had a great game. But for the block, for the screen, I don't think you can really call that. I think it would obviously an offensive foul in the last play would be a big issue, but it just happens too much for them to call that every time.
Well, we also got to take it. Well, two people we got to keep in mind are the two Camerons on the Suns, Cameron Payne and Cameron Johnson. Cameron Johnson, who was 5 for 5 from the field, but his buckets came when they needed it the most. When the Clippers were making a run, Cameron Johnson would just dive to the basket and make an easy layup or a floater, or he would pop out from 3 and get a kick out.
Yeah.
And Cameron Payne honestly has been the story of this whole playoffs ever since Chris Paul went down. So from the Lakers, from the opening series against the Lakers, when Chris Paul went down with the shoulder injury, many people thought the series was over, but Cameron Payne stepped in and he brought a different dynamic instead of Chris Paul, because Chris Paul is more of a let me slow down the game and pick my spots, whereas Cameron Payne is let me speed it up and let me get to where I need to go before the defense is set. So I think that dynamic of Chris Paul and Cameron Payne of being different is helping the Phoenix Suns, because you can't predict what Cameron Payne is going to do, because he has that, I don't want to say he's like a De'Aaron Fox, but he has De'Aaron Fox type speed, John Wall type speed, Westbrook type speed. He's just not as strong as them. And also you gotta keep in mind with his shot, it's a little funky, but it's been going in majority of this playoff time.
Yeah, I think that's a big story that with the Phoenix Suns, and I think that's something that a lot of people overlook with this team. It's not just Booker, Ayton, and Chris Paul that makes this team so good. They have a lot of depth, and they've been building this depth for a lot of years. Cam Johnson obviously having the best season of his career this year, and then Cameron Payne, we've talked about him so many times on this podcast, having probably a breakout playoffs, honestly. And the way he's been playing, we saw it from the moment he came out against the Lakers, and then he performed last round, and he continues to do it again. So it's a lot of these role players that are helping Phoenix come up short when one of their best players is still out. And I don't know. Do we have a word if he's going to be back for Game 3? He is expected to play Games 3 or 4, correct?
They're hopeful for him to return for Game 3. I think it should be fine, though, if it's been like a week already right now.
Yeah, so if he can come back before then with these guys playing like this, and still you've got no Kawhi over there on the other side, this is their series to lose at this point. So they've got to take advantage, I think. Keep pushing the ball down into the paint. Put the emphasis on the Clippers. Let them know why you're the second seed in the West.
The Clippers are down 0-2 again. Third time this playoffs. Looking like it could be another comeback. It's like what the Nuggets were last in the bubble. But they're down 3-1 twice, came back. And then against the Lakers, they were down 3-1, but they didn't come back. So for me, I think the Suns is going to be they're too good for the Clippers. But I mean, if Kawhi comes back, who knows?
That's what I was going to say. If their Kawhi was there, maybe there's a chance, because 0-2 Kawhi so far is undefeated this playoffs. But without Kawhi, it's hard. I think that's a heartbreaker last night. That was the game you needed to win, and to lose like that, it's going to be tough to respond.
Yeah, because we've seen what both teams have been like without their superstars on the floor. Well, Kawhi for the Clippers and Chris Paul for the Suns. And I want to say that the Suns have been able – actually, I want to say that the Clippers have been able to adapt more than the Suns, because the Clippers they don't have as much firepower compared to the Suns. I mean, yes, you have Reggie Jackson. Yes, you have a Marcus Morris. Yes, you have a Paul George. But those names don't ring a bell like DeAndre Ayton, a Devin Booker, who are rising superstars, who have shown up to the occasion for a majority of this playoff time. So I like the camaraderie and I like the chemistry that the Clippers are having. They just haven't been able to put those last few possessions together to pull it through. And that's why I think it's been the difference between both teams and from winning and losing. So last couple possessions, and also timely possessions during the game where unnecessary turnovers are forced, or just giving up the ball when you need to get a bucket, or missing an easy basket.
Yeah, that's where they miss Kawhi. Like, he's just so safe with the ball in crunch time and stuff. When the ball is it's in Reggie Jackson's hands now, or Patrick Beverley. So they're great players, but they're not as used to having it down one with 10 seconds left. So that's where they miss Kawhi the most, I think, and the leadership, of course.
Yeah. So we're gonna go on to our next playoff matchup, the first game of the Eastern Conference Finals with the Atlanta Hawks and the Milwaukee Bucks. We kind of went over this last time on Monday, but we're gonna go back into it, and we're gonna give our opinions again. So on Monday, I gave my prediction already, saying that the Bucks are gonna win in 6. And the only reason why for that is I think Giannis has finally found his groove. He found his that killer instinct, and I think the amount of pressure that's on him is gonna force him to play even better, because we've known that he's shrunk in these type of moments when pressure is on him. But I think now going through it, two consecutive playoffs in a row, I think he's finally going to get over the hump, as he did with the Nets.
Yeah, I mean, I take the Bucks too. I don't want to. This is what I kept saying when the Hawks were playing the Sixers, but the Hawks had no one to guard Embiid and they still won. But they really have no one to guard Giannis. Like, John Collins, I guess, will be on him, but John Collins is too slow for Giannis, I think. And I think my prediction is Giannis will have good games every game. I mean, he's going to go to the line a lot, I imagine. he's going to have a huge games. Chris Middleton will have a big game. I think Drew Holiday, this is kind of a make or break series for him. He can kind of show that he's still obviously an elite defender, but also an elite offensive player. He should be able to tighten up on Drew Holiday, and they should be able to throw PJ Tucker and Holiday at them multiple times. So I think that will help. But I like the Bucks.
Well, you guys already know what I said last episode. So this is going to be an interesting game one, though. Yeah, a hot take for me, the hottest take of the year, probably. But it's going to be a good game one. I'm excited for it. You got two really offensive ends. I mean, two opposite ends. You got offensive superpower with the Hawks and then defensive lockdown mindset with the Bucks. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think you're right, Mike, that they don't have anybody to guard Giannis. And like you said, it's the same thing with Embiid too. Like they really didn't have anyone who could hold Embiid. I mean, Embiid was basically doing whatever he wanted, even in that game 7. He played well for the majority of the series. So it really depends how they guard Giannis. Are they going to start backing off of him and let him, because now he's starting to take a few more threes. He doesn't make them that often, but takes a few. So if the strategy is back off of him, force him to drive inside and try and get fouls, then that might be the strategy for guarding him. But I'm sure they've thought about that. They don't really have a marquee guy who's going to be able to go up there and match up against Giannis. So they're going to have to put an emphasis on that. And then, honestly, I think the X factor this series is really what Chris Middleton's going to do, because they're going to focus on Giannis. That's the guy they're worried about. But if they're putting a lot of emphasis on Giannis, double teaming, getting the ball out of his hands, whatever, Chris Middleton's got to be that guy who can still put up 30 a game and help them win. Because he did that last series, and I think he can continue to do that. If he can put up 30 a game, then the Hawks are going to have a hard time with it. But like I said, you guys know how I feel about this series.
Let me ask you guys this. It's all right. So I mentioned it earlier. How much pressure is on Giannis to come through in this round, to go to his first NBA Finals?
All the pressure.
Yeah,
Everything.
A lot.
Everything. I mean, this is probably the biggest mismatch he could have had in the Eastern Conference Finals. So, and people have taken note of that. So, if Giannis loses this, it's not like, the Raptors or Boston. This is the Atlanta Hawks, a team that people have kind of written off since the start of the playoffs. And they still are being written off. So, despite how good they may be, that's not what the media, that's not what the narrative is saying. So, if Giannis does lose, it's going to be bad. The narrative that he can't win in the playoffs or be a leader is going to start to surface, which I don't know if I agree with, but he's got to win this series.
Yeah, probably I'd say it all. All the pressure's on him. The Hawks are still like the dark horses, the Cinderella team. They're just going out there playing. The Bucks are the ones with all the pressure. Not even just Giannis. Budenholzer's got pressure. I think if they lose this, he's probably gone. The whole team's got pressure. And I think for Middleton, another reason that I think he'll even have a better series than against the Nets. It's because against the Nets, he had to worry a lot on the defensive end. But against the Hawks, like who is he going to be guarding? Like Bogdanovich? Like he's a good offensive player, but not like switching onto Harden or something. So he won't have to exert as much energy on defense. I think he'll be locked in on offense.
Agreed. Yeah, Giannis has all the pressure on him. I expect, for me, my X factor of this series is going to be Drew Holiday, actually, because Drew Holiday really he played good in the next series, but I didn't think there was so much left on the table that I think he's gonna take care of the opportunity, take advantage of the opportunity in the finals round, in the conference finals round, because like you said, Michael, with Middleton exerting energy both on offense and defense, I think that's also took away from Drew Holiday as well. So I think now I think he is gonna guard Trae Young, but I want to see PJ Tucker on Trae Young, because we've seen PJ Tucker has that foot speed to match quick guards. He has the physicality to play physical with them, like we saw with KD, and he was able to frustrate them. So that's what I think is gonna be. That's what I think is gonna be an X factor as well. How physical are the refs gonna let the Bucks get with Trae Young? Because if they're able to play physical with them, we saw how much of that took away from him in the Sixer series. So now with the even more big, I want to say they're a bigger and more physical team like the Bucks. I think they might have their way with Trae Young, especially if they get in the traps and those high pick and rolls. But going back to pressure, I want to focus this on Trae Young. If Trae Young were to go to his first finals, how much would this build on his legacy? Would we see like kind of like an Iverson type story here, or
Well,
what do you guys think?
I think the big thing is with Trae Young is that people have always said the Hawks can't win with him because he doesn't play defense or he's the worst defender in the NBA. So if he can get to an NBA Finals and a playoffs where people weren't even considering him, like the Hawks were an afterthought. There were about 3-4 teams that people really thought could get to the NBA Finals from the East, and the Hawks definitely were not one of them. So if he gets here with all the talk that's been around him, all the negativity that comes towards him about not being able to defend and how that's going to impact the Hawks, then this says a lot for his legacy. It shows that offensively, the things he does, not just scoring, because we already know he's a phenomenal shooter and he has a great floater inside. He can do anything on offense. But the ability to pass the ball too and get his teammates involved is such an overlooked part of his game. So if he can get to a finals, I think that just shows that the defense that people really knock on him for, it's not as big of a deal as people really say, and that this guy is like, he's the real deal. NBA Finals in your third year, that's extremely impressive.
I think Trae Young's legacy, no matter what happens, is always going to be tied to Luka, just because they had that draft day trade. So I think if you see, we see obviously their teams can't really be matched up because it looks like the Hawks have a better supporting cast as they've gotten farther in the playoffs. But you see Luka get eliminated in the first round, and then you see Trae go to the finals in the same year. I think you might start leaning to saying the Hawks win that trade, and that, obviously that would help Trae Young's legacy, because I think it's always gonna be compared between the two of them. But for me, you can't really. I think both teams won the trade for Trae and Luka. It has to be the most even trade we've seen.
I would say even. I would say with the trade, I think Luka is a better overall player than Trae, but Trae has the better supporting cast. But you can't really knock each player for that, because they're given the situation that they're put in. They can't control anything besides that. Management controls that. But I want to say, if Trae is able to get to his first finals before Luka, then yeah, we have to start visiting that discussion of the Hawks did win, because the Hawks took Luka against first instead, but then went away and traded him away. So they saw something in Trae Young that they didn't like in Luka from that perspective. So, Prabha, what do you think, since you're the Mavs and Luka fan?
Well, I may be a little biased when I say this, but I think we won the trade. Now, obviously, I agree with Mike. I think both teams have to be happy with the situation, and I don't think either one of the teams would change what had happened that draft night. Like, if you go back to that night, I don't think the Hawks say, "Nah, we're taking Luka. Y'all can have Trae Young." I think they're happy with Trae Young. I think they want him to be that franchise guy. Just in his second year, he put up 30 and 9, and this year it was around 27 and 9. So he's a stud. He knows how to run an offense. He knows how to be a great offensive player. So I would still say the Mavericks won the trade simply because I think Luka's talent is just generational. We haven't seen a talent in the NBA like this, and that's been so immediately so dominant since, I would argue, honestly, you could argue LeBron or KD. I think he's really up there. He hasn't won too much. He hasn't won anything yet, obviously, but I think that goes back to the supporting cast stuff. So if Trae Young can go to the finals this year, it's great for the Hawks, but I think we have to give him more time because, like you guys said, the supporting cast for Trae Young is a lot better than the one in Dallas now that we've seen what's been going on in the playoffs. And I think if you give Luka some more supporting players, you'll start to see some more success too. So I would say probably just hold off on deciding who's officially won the trade. But as of right now, I think if you give Luka a little more talent, he could get there too. So I lean the Mavericks have won this trade so far, but there's still a lot of time.
I agree. I think the Mavericks won. I think Luka's. I mean, he's all NBA. He was first team, wasn't he? And
Yeah,
he's been an all-star. So the thing for me is if you take Trae Young and you put him on this Mavericks team and you take Luka and you put him on the Hawks team, I think Luka will do the same, if not better things with the supporting cast in Atlanta. But I don't know if Trae can carry his team to the playoffs 2 years in a row with that kind of supporting cast like how Luka has. Because Trae wasn't able to do it last year, and then they improved a lot this year, and now they're able to do it. But the Mavericks, they didn't really do much in the past 2 seasons. Like they haven't brought in any like wow players. Like Kristaps came back, but I mean he's not the same player. Luka's just been carrying the load. So for now, I mean, if he gets to the finals, of course that changes it for Trae. But for now, I agree with Pablo. It's Luka.
Nice takes. Yeah, from a player perspective, we all agree Luka is the more dominant player than Trae. I want to say from a fit perspective, Trae fits. He's fit his franchise. I want to say better than Luka has, just because we haven't heard anything from Trae complaining about from upper management or from the front office like we have from Luka with Donnie Nelson and the gambler guy,
Bob Bulgaris.
So
My favorite.
From player wise, the Mavs won, but I want to say fit wise, the Hawks won. Yeah. So it can go either way. Hopefully, we can see these two in a finals matchup, so we can see who actually did win a trade, who won the trade.
That would be wild.
That would be wild. We're continuing with Trae Young because the NBA is planning to make a rule change on drawing fouls. So basically, what the rule change is when basketball players drive in and they try to make a pump fake and they made an awkward when they make the pump fake and they get their defender in the air and they try to get contact off that, but make it like in a non-basketball type move, they'll get the call just because based on the rules if a defender leaves their feet and their defense, you guys know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's hard.
It's basically the Trae Young rule.
Yeah, the Trae Young rule. So I'm glad to see this because we've seen some dumb type of moves, like quirky moves where they try to get the foul. Where it doesn't even look like a shot, but they're bailed out because of the rule. I'm glad to see that this move is happening. What do you guys think?
I think all NBA fans are glad because it's kind of like it's an unattractive thing to see. I think it started with Chris Paul. He used to do it a lot. He would just pump fake and see the guy in the air and kind of just lean into him and go up with it. I mean, it makes sense from the player side. They're getting 2 free throws, but it's good to see. You don't want to see the game that it makes it too choppy. There's too many stoppages. So, I mean, it's good to see. Maybe Trae Young will have to have a different game plan now. Who knows?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is it's not basketball. It's unnatural. It's like a loophole in the rule book. By technicality, of course, it is a foul, but people don't tune into the games to watch that. People weren't abusing the rule the way they are now, about 7-8 years ago. People were just playing basketball. If they got the foul, they go to the line, shoot their free throws. And on a side note, they used to make them actually. But now, I mean, it's not really basketball. It's just an easy way to get to the line and get points. And it's smart, of course, but it's not what the sport was. It's not what the sport is. People shouldn't be. You don't see this in other sports where players are really taking advantage of the rules, except for I guess Aaron Rodgers with players jumping off sides and getting a free play. But it needs to be fixed. NBA fans don't like it. Anybody who watches the league knows that it's not an attractive part of the game. So I think this has been a long time coming. I honestly don't know why they've taken so long to do this, but I'm glad they're finally doing it, cutting back on it. And I think it'll start forcing some of these guys like Trae, Luka, 2 guys who are infamous for doing it, Harden, a lot of these guys who love the jump in fouls or the hand on the shot foul when their defenders got a hand up and then they just rise up and get the 3-point foul shot. We'll see a lot of that go away, and I think it'll force players to make more basketball plays, and it should make the game a lot more fun. where in a clutch situation, players aren't being bailed out with a tacky call and then 3 free throws.
My favorite thing about this rule change is you're gonna see, because when people go up in the air and the offensive player tries to go in for the foul, you can generally kind of hurt someone like that, especially if they're off their feet. If you go for their hips, they can flip over. If they're right next to you, you could put like a shoulder in their face or your elbow in your face. Because I seen that recently with Dennis Schroeder and Steph Curry, where Steph Curry he pump faked. Dennis Schroeder kind of jumped up and Curry kind of elbowed him in the face. And they gave him 3 free throws just because of the rule. Like that's the type of stuff that I want to see like eliminated, because generally you can't hurt someone doing these type of fouls, doing these type of, like, when you're trying to get a foul, actually. Because if you do like some type of quirky move or something unexpected, especially when the player's in the air, it generally, when someone's in the air, it's not going to end well when 2 players are right next to each other. So I'm glad we're seeing this rule change, and it's about time, because it's been slowing down the game. It's just they've been taking advantage of it, and I don't like that aspect of it. So I'm glad the league is finally stepping in and doing something about it. Any last thoughts on this topic?
Like, it's happening for next season? Is that what they said? Yeah.
I want to say hopefully by next season.
Yeah, just good riddance.
Yeah, can't come soon enough.
Good riddance. Goodbye.
It's funny how you guys said Chris Paul. The player who reminded me of doing this the most was Dwayne Wade. When he would do that little pullback step and then pump fake and then just right into someone.
You know who else does it a lot now that I've seen? Paul George does it a lot.
Paul George does do it a lot. Curry's been doing it a lot too.
Yeah, I think everyone, all the scorers do it. All the people who are good at free throws do it, because they know that they know they'll get there.
It's got to go.
Booker's been doing it as well.
Yeah. It's good that it's gone, though. Goodbye.
Finally.
We will not.
Let's go to coaching jobs. So Portland had made it down to their final selections to Becky Hammon, Chauncey Billups, and Mike D'Antoni. They called each and every one of them for a second interview. Out of these 3, who do you think is most likely going to get the job?
Honestly, I think it's between Becky Hammon and Mike D'Antoni. Obviously, Mike D'Antoni is a great offensive coach. He knows how to run a good offense. He did it in Houston for many years, and he's done it all over his career. So you bring that guy in, I think that would make Lillard a little happy. I think he'd have a lot more freedom to do what he wants with the ball. I mean, he can already pretty much do that, but I think D'Antoni brings a different element to your offense. And Becky Hammon, I mean, obviously, the prospect of having the first female head coach in NBA history is not just like a progressive move, but I think also from a franchise standpoint, it's profitable and it's a good look for your franchise to show that, we're not worried about the gender of our coach, if it's a boy or a girl. We just want to win basketball games. And, she obviously was coaching under arguably the GOAT coach of our generation, and she's been there for years in a great system. So between these 2 guys, or between Becky Hammon and Mike D'Antoni, I don't think you could go wrong with either one. We obviously haven't seen Becky Hammon in a head coaching position before, but I think it would be really cool to see her. I think she has a great shot, and obviously if she made it to a second interview, she's qualified. So I would say it's between these 2.
For me, the thing about Becky Hammon is she's not going to just be like the token woman, like the token female coach. Like everyone she's worked with, like Tim Duncan, Pop, all the Spurs players, they all say she's like a legit coach. So I think that would be, it'd obviously be great to see. I think if she doesn't get this job, she has a pretty good shot to get another job somewhere else. But I would like to see Chauncey Billups get the job, because I think out of the 3, that's who Dame would want the most, because he came out saying he wanted Jason Kidd. But, I guess he's not in the final 3. But I think what he wants is just like a point guard coach and someone who kind of understands his game especially. So I would like to see Billups. I think D'Antoni is the easiest choice just because of like his resume and his past experience and how offensive minded he is. And obviously, the Blazers are just an offensive team. They don't really have a defensive scheme. But for me, I want to see Billups in Portland.
Me personally, I have Mike D'Antoni. I don't like Mike D'Antoni for this position at all. Not one bit. My only reason for this is, like how you said, Michael, Mike D'Antoni is an offensive coach. We already know that the Blazers are offensively there. The thing was defense. That was a problem for them. So I think already getting rid of an offensive-minded coach like D'Antoni, who's not known for defense, as we saw it with the Rockets, with the Suns, with the Lakers. So the problem isn't scoring points. The problem is preventing points on the other end. So Mike D'Antoni for me is out because I forgot who said it, but someone said take the D out of D'Antoni because he plays no defense. So for me, he's out. It's honestly between Chauncey Billups and Becky Hammond. Chauncey Billups, I like that pick because, like you said, former point guard, Finals MVP, with the defensive juggernaut of the Detroit Pistons back in the mid 2000s. I think if he'd be able to bring that grit to them, because Chauncey Billups was someone who got down in the defensive position, who wasn't scared, who wasn't to back down, didn't back down to anyone in front of him. I think he's gonna bring a culture of the bad boys to the Pistons if he is hired. So I like that pick. I also like the Becky Hammond pick because think about the coaching tree that she's coming from the Greg Popovich. So if you're because we've seen before people under Greg Popovich, they tend to do pretty good in the league. I mean, you have Rick Carlisle, you have I forgot who else, honestly.
Pretty much like you can almost name anyone. There's a lot.
Did a lot from the Popovich coaching tree, and they have been successful in the league. So I hope to see, me personally, in a culture that's looking for change. I think Becky Hammond would be the right pick, but Chauncey Billups would also be the right pick. But for me personally, I want to see Becky Hammond just to see something new, show that women can actually coach in the league. Because general sense, from a player's perspective, mostly what they don't care if it's a woman or a man. It's, can you help us win games? Can you help us do this? Are you about basketball? Do you know? Are your credentials there? And I think once the players recognize that Becky Hammond does have, in fact, all the attributes and those intangibles, they're gonna fall in line, and it's gonna be a great relationship. So hopefully Becky Hammond gets the job, in my opinion.
I think it'd be cool. And the one more thing I wanted to add, if she does end up getting the job and she, is able to lead this team to the playoffs, that does so much for other women in the industry who are trying to get jobs.
Sure.
So I think there's a stigma that, only guys can lead a team successfully. This is like a male-dominated sport, so it only fosters success for male coaches. But if she can do that, and I think she will, because if she gets the job, because she obviously had that great system in San Antonio, it'll be monumental for the league and for other female coaches who want to crack at an NBA job.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen her like fill in coaching, had a head coach position for Greg Popovich. So she does have some experience in it, in head coaching and making the decisions. So hopefully she does get the position. But if Chauncey Billups gets it, I wouldn't be mad about that either.
Yeah.
I honestly thought that Becky Hammond would get the Spurs job from Popovich once it was all done with him. I wouldn't mind seeing that, just because she's already been there for probably, I want to say, more than 5 years. So hopefully change is coming. But we're gonna end our last segment with the all-time Euro starting five. So this is just something that we came up with randomly after our last podcast about a week ago, where we came up with our dream starting five with $15 from the 2000s edition. So we just came up with the Euro starting five, our Euro starting five. Who wants to go first?
Just before we start, we're doing Euros or just all international players?
Well, international, besides America and Canada. And America.
Okay. I can go first. I'll start it off. I think there's going to be a couple crossovers. So, but we'll start point guard. I got the Luka Doncic. I mean, when I was looking it up, there's not like a crazy amount of international point guards that have like really been great. Like you got Tony Parker, Luka. You can maybe throw Dragic in there. There hasn't been too many, so I think we go with Luka, well-rounded player. Shooting guard, I got Manu Ginobili, Argentinian. the left-handed beast. You know, he gets it done everywhere. Small forward, I got some shooting. I got Peja Stojakovic. Power forward, I got to get some Chicago representation in there. I got Tony Kukoc. You know, get it done everywhere. And I mean, at the 5, I think everyone's got the dream, Hakeem Olajuwon. I don't know how you can pick anyone else as center.
Yeah, we've got pretty similar starting 5s, honestly, but I'm gonna try and mix it up. So, obviously, for point guard, I am going to go with the man, Luka Doncic. I don't know if you could really argue that. I mean, already 2 years in, he's been so good. I don't know if you can argue that there's anybody who really matches him yet. Can you think of one?
Who?
I don't.
Point guard? I think it's only Tony Parker.
And honestly, I don't think Tony Parker's ever dominated the way that Luka has so far. So I think the pick here is Luka for sure. Shooting guards, I also got Ginobili. Defensively, he's there. He's clutch. He makes big shots. Can't go wrong with Manu Ginobili. Small forward. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I really couldn't think of a good small forward. Was Detlef Schrempf? Was he more of a power forward, or did he play?
I want to say power forward, but it don't matter. You could switch these guys up.
Yeah, I would probably. I was gonna say I'll probably go Kukoc at the 3. He's a great shooter. He won with Jordan, obviously, so you can't go wrong with him. At power forward, you guys know who I'm going with. My guy, Dirk Nowitzki.
Dirk.
Probably the greatest second international player of all time. He's the second greatest international player ever. So shooting, everything you want in a power forward, change the game. And then at center, I've got the dream, arguably one of the greatest defensive players ever and can do everything for your team. So that's my starting 5. Going a little big.
I had to change mine up because a lot like you guys, I had a lot of similarities, especially at the point guard position with Doncic. I mean, that's the obvious pick to go with. Mm-hmm. But I switched it up right now. I'm going with 3-time champion or 4-time champion, Finals MVP in the 2007 NBA Finals, number 9 from the Spurs, Tony Parker. I'm going with Tony Parker as my point guard.
Mm-hmm.
The shooting guard, we're staying with the Spurs. We're going with the Argentine, Manu Ginobili, the lucky lefty. Just can't go wrong with the Euro step on point, defense there, tenacity. He has the dog in him. Perfect pick. For the small forward, I'm surprised none of you guys went with this guy. Drazen Petrovic.
Oh my gosh.
From the New Jersey Nets. The biggest what if story. One of the biggest what if stories in NBA history. Because dude was from Croatian, a beast, shooter, 3-level scorer, went out with Michael Jordan, wasn't afraid. Who knows what could have been if he didn't suffer that fatal accident. I'm a power forward. I got to keep it with the Lakers. Come on now. Pau Gasol, the Spaniard. Yeah, 2-time champion, one of the finals, 3 out of the 6 years he was there. Beast. And center. See, I had a tough time going with this because I didn't want to go with the obvious pick in Hakeem. Because I could have gone with Mark Eaton. I was thinking Manute Bol.
Mark Gasol. You could have had the brothers.
Mark Gasol, Prime Gasol. But I'm going with Vlade Divac.
That's fair.
Oh, I thought you were going to go Mutombo for a second.
That was another pick in there, but I'm going with Vlade Divac, another former Laker. He's been to the finals. He knows what it is. He knows how to get job done. Put him with that pick and roll with Tony Parker and Ginobili. I love the pick. Got Petrovic stretching the floor. Pau Gasol, who's also can play big down low and also spread the floor in mid-range. I like the IQ on my team. The ball movement's going to be there. That's the general thing I like about international players. They're more fundamentally sound than people here in the United States.
Mm-hmm.
So I like my starting five. I like your guys' starting five as well.
Yours is different. I liked it, Jesse.
It's hard to go wrong with these. I
Mhm.
mean, there's so many good international players now.
Let me
I
ask you guys
didn't want to
this.
go with all the original. Like, I didn't want to pick like Dirk because I mean, you'd always take Dirk.
Yeah, I didn't want to be like cheese with it, like
Yeah.
obvious picks.
I had to. It's my guys. I had to go with.
No, you're good. You're straight. I knew you would pick Dirk. Yeah, that's
If you guys are taking a 6-man, who are you taking?
Ooh.
I mean, Kukoc. I'll go Kukoc.
You know who I'm going? The Magic legend, Hito Turkoglu.
Ooh.
Oh.
I liked him. He was nice.
Okay.
I was thinking Bellinelli too.
Oh, that's a good one. You'd have the Spurs team. That's a good one.
I'll throw an interesting one in there. Off my bench, another good defensive player and an all-star when he was healthy, though granted he wasn't healthy that often. I'll take Yao Ming. Want to show some love to Yao Ming. Yao Ming needs to get in there.
That's a good pick.
I don't know how that fit with that team, honestly, because I've already got Hakeem down there, but whenever he comes off the floor, I've just got another giant, so no problem for me.
What about Big Z? You didn't want Big Z again?
No. He was the budget purchase on that team. So
fair enough.
Respect to Big Z, but I'm going with my guy Yao. 7'6". Dude's a monster.
Solid teams.
Mahimi.
Ian Mahimi. What the throwbacks today, Jesse?
Serge Ibaka. We could have put Serge Ibaka.
You know who I was thinking at center if I didn't go with Hakeem? Mehmet Okur from the Jazz.
Ooh.
One of the first like stretch fives. He was gnarly in 2K, like 2K9.
The One Stop Podcast is educated. We know our NBA players.
We do. I'm trying to think of like some other like bad, like super. Well, Patty Mills. You got to put Patty Mills in there, of course.
The Australian.
I don't know. All time.
Jose Calderon. He was good.
Calderon.
He was nice with it.
Joe Ingles.
Has anyone talked about? I was gonna say Steve Nash. We're not doing Canada, right?
Yeah, Canada's off the table.
No, okay. I was gonna say. There's a lot, man. Yeah, I'm surprised we didn't talk about Petrovic because Petrovic was, like you said, he was a great what-if story. Definitely could have.
End with the Vic, the shooters, Vujacic, Radmanovic, Stojakovic.
Yeah. Did anyone talk about Peja Stojakovic?
Yeah, I got him.
I got him.
All right. Yeah, lots of good players, man. It just goes to show the NBA is a lot more than just the talent we have here in America. Lots of great players from the past who changed the game.
Yep. I'm trying to think. Like, who else?
You got Sabonis.
Both of them.
Yeah, both of them.
You could argue Kyrie too. He's technically Australian.
Nah.
But he plays for Team USA.
Yeah,
he plays for Team USA, so it doesn't count.
US citizen, yeah.
If
we want to do that, we could do the Ewing too. The Ewing from Jamaica.
You can do Ben Simmons too, then, right?
Ben
Simmons. We're not taking Ben Simmons on the podcast. We're not taking Ben Simmons.
Oh, wow, that should have been your point guard right there.
Oh, Dominique Wilkins, I think, was born in like Germany too, but I mean, he's American, so we could take him too then.
Yeah, Dominique was a Frenchman. Yeah, lots of great
Rudy
players.
Gobert?
Nah.
He's a French guy.
You're not taking Gobert.
No, I mean it's just recency bias on him. That's why he struggles. You got
Mm-hmm.
Boris Diaw with the Spurs.
Boris Diaw.
He was nice. I mean, we could just go on for hours.
Yeah, we got a lot. Oh, JJ Barea.
My guy, JJ Barea.
Puerto Rico.
Bring him up, man. JJ Barea was awesome.
What about Kristaps?
Kristaps has got to work his way back up that international list, man. He is not living up to it right now. Oof. Ooh. Anyone talk about Rick Smits for the Pacers? That guy was great too.
Rick Smits, that's another big. I can't remember. I can't think of anyone else. Hakeem. Yeah.
We're just.
What about Giannis? No one said Giannis.
Oh, Giannis, bro. How are we forgetting about Giannis?
And Embiid.
Oh my.
Embiid. Oh
All
my
the players now, you
God.
don't even think of them. Siakam, Jokic.
I'd like to change my starting five, guys.
We could have done one
how do you
current. We could have
play
done current and retired.
I'm putting Giannis at the 3. Forget Kukoc. Great
Yeah, your
player.
team is huge.
Yeah, I'm Giannis used to play the 3, and when he got drafted, he was a 3.
And then he grew like 4 more inches.
Yeah,
like 40 pounds on him too. And
Yeah.
all the muscle.
he can play a small forward. I'll put Giannis at my 3. I'm going. That's a big team right there. Luka, Ginobili, Giannis, Dirk, and Hakeem.
That's a huge team. Yeah, your
That's
team
nice.
would punk my team for sure.
You know, just get rid of Hakeem. Just put Yao in there. I'm just going size at this point. Just put Yao in.
Yeah, your team would wreck my team.
Team would wreck all our teams unless
Yeah,
you get JJ Barea to go under their legs.
Tony Parker spin move under the legs.
All right. Well,
That's gonna wrap up our show today. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys again Friday.